Welcome back to BNB Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the complex dynamics between Ridge, Brooke, and Taylor that have been captivating viewers for months. The emotional triangle has reached new heights as personal ambitions, medical concerns, and family interference create a perfect storm of drama. Is Ridge truly committed to staying with Taylor this time around? This question lingers in the minds of many fans as we observe the cyclical nature of Ridge's romantic decisions. Historically, Ridge and Taylor's relationships have been temporary detours before he inevitably returns to Brooke's arms. The pattern has become so predictable that viewers wonder if Ridge deserves Brooke's unwavering patience and forgiveness. Perhaps instead of waiting in the wings as she typically does, Brooke would be better served by asserting her independence and refusing to be Ridge's safety net when things with Taylor inevitably deteriorate. The potential return of Grace Buckingham to the canvas adds another fascinating layer to this already complex situation. As Taylor's former physician, Grace was the medical professional who diagnosed Taylor with broken heart syndrome rather than actual heart failure during her initial return to Los Angeles. This medical connection raises intriguing possibilities about Taylor's future tactics. Given Taylor's history of questionable behavior to secure Ridge's affections, viewers are speculating whether she might fabricate a medical relapse to manipulate Ridge's protective instincts and prevent him from gravitating back toward Brooke. Taylor's manipulative tendencies have been well documented throughout the years. Despite initially claiming she hadn't returned to Los Angeles to pursue Ridge, her actions tell a completely different story. The question now becomes how far Taylor might go to maintain her current position in Ridge's life. Would she stoop so low as to fake a cardiac episode or exacerbate her broken heart syndrome symptoms to elicit Ridge's sympathy and commitment? Such a strategy would align with her past behaviors and desperation to keep Ridge away from Brooke. Brooke's frustration continues to mount as she watches Taylor integrate herself into Ridge's life during what should have been a temporary rough patch in their relationship. From Brooke's perspective, Ridge and she would have successfully navigated their difficulties if Taylor and the Forrester children had respected boundaries and refrained from interfering in matters that didn't concern them. The situation became particularly complicated when Taylor returned to Los Angeles with her broken heart syndrome diagnosis, prompting Ridge's protective instincts and diverting his attention from his relationship with Brooke. The professional connection between Brooke and Ridge at Forrester Creations presents a strategic advantage that Brooke could potentially leverage to reclaim Ridge's affections. Their shared workplace creates natural opportunities for collaboration and reconnection that Taylor cannot easily disrupt. However, Brooke's contributions to Forrester Creations extend beyond mere proximity to Ridge. She played a crucial role in helping Ridge regain control of the company, a fact that he seems to have conveniently forgotten in his rush to reunite with Taylor. The conflict between Ridge and Brooke predating Taylor's return centered around Hope Logan, Brooke's daughter. Ridge's unreasonable demand that Brooke evict her own daughter from their home created significant tension in their relationship. This ultimatum revealed Ridge's controlling tendencies and disregard for Brooke's maternal responsibilities. Despite these challenges, Brooke has remained committed to reconciling with Ridge, demonstrating her deep attachment to their relationship despite his repeated betrayals. From Taylor's perspective, preventing a reunion between Ridge and Brooke has become a primary objective. Her determination to maintain her relationship with Ridge may drive her to increasingly desperate measures. If Ridge begins showing signs of gravitating back toward Brooke, as he has done countless times before, Taylor might resort to manipulating his emotions through feigned medical crises or other deceptive tactics. The question remains whether Ridge will eventually recognize Taylor's manipulative behaviors if she does indeed fake a medical relapse. Ridge's history of being easily swayed by emotional appeals and dramatic circumstances suggests he might initially fall for such a ploy. However, the truth has a way of emerging eventually on The Bold and the Beautiful, potentially leading to yet another dramatic confrontation and relationship shift. As this emotional triangle continues to evolve, viewers are left wondering whether Ridge and Brooke will find their way back to each other, as they have so many times before, or if Taylor has finally secured a permanent place in Ridge's heart. The upcoming storylines promise to deliver intense emotional confrontations, potential medical dramas, and the complex relationship dynamics that have made this soap opera a beloved staple of daytime television for decades. Next, we will learn about the impending medical crisis that threatens to reignite one of daytime television's most enduring rivalries. The shocking developments surrounding Liam Spencer's deteriorating health condition are about to thrust him back into the spotlight and potentially reshape the romantic landscape of Los Angeles's fashion elite. Liam's health crisis, a catalyst for drama. Liam Spencer has been noticeably absent from the main storylines recently, operating primarily in the background of the canvas while other characters took center stage. However, this period of relative obscurity is about to come to a dramatic end. The writers appear to be setting the stage for a compelling health emergency that will not only revitalize Liam's narrative arc but potentially reignite dormant romantic entanglements that viewers thought had been resolved. The nature of Liam's medical condition remains shrouded in mystery, with speculation ranging from a hereditary illness possibly connected to his Spencer lineage to complications resulting from previous traumas he's endured. Whatever the diagnosis, this health scare arrives at a narratively opportune moment when both of the women who have dominated his romantic history are experiencing profound personal and professional upheavals of their own. Industry insiders suggest this storyline could span several months, with potential complications, misdiagnoses, and experimental treatments creating numerous opportunities for emotional bedside scenes and declarations of undying love. The writers seem poised to explore how a brush with mortality can clarify priorities and reignite passions that characters believed they had successfully suppressed or overcome. The Spencer legacy, Bill's role in the drama. The deterioration in Liam's health coincides with mounting tensions between him and his father, Dollar Bill Spencer. Their relationship has become increasingly strained, with Bill's characteristic ruthlessness and manipulation extending even to his interactions with his own son. This paternal neglect has not gone unnoticed by Liam's former wife, Steffy Forrester Finnegan, who has apparently reached her breaking point regarding Bill's treatment of the father of her daughter. Sources close to the production indicate that upcoming scenes will feature a blistering confrontation between Steffy and Bill, where she unleashes years of accumulated frustration regarding his parenting failures. This heated exchange will likely reference Bill's history of prioritizing business machinations and romantic pursuits over his responsibilities to his sons, with particular emphasis on how his recent obsession with Luna Nozawa has further distanced him from Liam during a time of medical vulnerability. Bill's response to this criticism could potentially trigger a re-evaluation of his priorities, especially if Liam's condition worsens. The Spencer patriarch has historically demonstrated the capacity for growth when faced with potential loss, and Liam's health crisis might serve as the catalyst for a redemptive arc for Bill. Alternatively, Bill's defensive reaction could further alienate him from the family circle that will inevitably form around Liam during his recovery. Hope's emotional crossroads. Hope Logan finds herself at a particularly vulnerable juncture in her life when news of Liam's health crisis reaches her. Having recently experienced what she perceives as a profound betrayal at Forrester Creations, Hope has retreated into a state of emotional isolation and self-pity. Despite her controversial decision to appropriate company resources for her personal design ambitions, an action she steadfastly refuses to acknowledge as problematic, Hope genuinely feels victimized by the professional consequences she now faces. The disillusionment extends beyond her career setbacks to encompass her romantic disappointments as well. Carter Walton, whom Hope had begun to envision as potentially different from her previous romantic partners, ultimately revealed familiar patterns of behavior that reinforced her growing cynicism about relationships. This combination of professional rejection and romantic disenchantment has left Hope emotionally adrift, questioning the foundations of her identity and purpose. The news of Liam's medical emergency will function as a powerful wake-up call for Hope, jolting her out of this introspective malaise and forcing her to confront the fragility of life and the impermanence of opportunity. This revelation, that time with loved ones cannot be taken for granted, will likely trigger a significant shift in Hope's priorities and perspective, potentially redirecting her energy from professional ambition to emotional reconnection. Industry sources suggest that upcoming episodes will feature Hope experiencing a profound epiphany about what truly matters in her life, with flashback sequences revisiting pivotal moments in her relationship with Liam interspersed with scenes of her rushing to the hospital. The emotional journey will be complicated by her arrival at Liam's bedside only to discover that Steffy has already established herself as his primary support system, setting the stage for the renewal of their historic rivalry. Steffy's conflicted loyalties. Steffy Forrester Finnegan's marriage to Dr. John Finn Finnegan has recently encountered significant turbulence, largely attributable to the disruptive influence of Bill Spencer and Luna Nozawa. This period of marital instability has left Steffy emotionally vulnerable and perhaps unconsciously seeking the familiar comfort of past relationships. The news of Liam's health crisis therefore arrives at a psychologically precarious moment for Steffy, when the boundaries between present commitments and past attachments have already begun to blur. The prospect of losing Liam, not just as her former husband but as the father of her daughter Kelly, triggers a powerful emotional response in Steffy. Dormant feelings that she believed had been successfully processed and resolved suddenly resurface with unexpected intensity, complicating her already complex emotional landscape. The potential impact on Kelly adds another dimension to Steffy's concern, as she contemplates the possibility of her daughter growing up without her father's presence. Production insiders reveal that upcoming episodes will feature Steffy making impulsive decisions to prioritize Liam's care, potentially at the expense of her responsibilities to Finn and their blended family. These choices will not necessarily reflect a conscious intention to rekindle her relationship with Liam but rather an instinctive response to crisis that bypasses rational consideration of consequences. Nevertheless, the cumulative effect of these decisions will be to create distance between Steffy and Finn while simultaneously strengthening her connection to Liam. Particularly noteworthy will be Steffy's apparent amnesia regarding Hope's significance in Liam's life. In her rush to position herself as Liam's primary caregiver, Steffy demonstrates a selective memory that conveniently overlooks Hope's equally valid claim to that role. This oversight is not entirely unconscious but rather reflects Steffy's deep-seated competitive instinct where Hope is concerned, an instinct that has been temporarily dormant but never truly resolved. The mother's legacy, echoes of Brooke and Taylor. The impending collision between Hope and Steffy over Liam's hospital bed carries profound thematic significance within the broader narrative tapestry of the bold and the beautiful. Their rivalry represents not merely a personal conflict but the continuation of a generational pattern established by their mothers, Brooke Logan and Taylor Hayes, whose decades-long competition for Ridge Forrester's affections has defined much of the show's historical arc. This parallel between mothers and daughters creates rich opportunities for character development and self-reflection. Hope, upon recognizing the similarities between her situation and her mother's notorious romantic entanglements, will likely experience profound discomfort and resistance. Hope has consistently strived to differentiate herself from Brooke's more controversial choices, and the prospect of replicating her mother's pattern of competing for a man's affections represents a troubling regression in her personal growth narrative. Conversely, Steffy might embrace the comparison to Taylor with considerably more enthusiasm. Having always admired her mother's tenacity and passionate commitment to fighting for love, Steffy could potentially view this renewed competition with hope as an affirmation of her Hayes heritage rather than a problematic pattern to overcome. This divergent response to their maternal legacies adds another layer of complexity to the women's rivalry. Production sources hint at potential scenes featuring both Brooke and Taylor offering their daughters advice on navigating this familiar territory, with their guidance predictably reflecting their own biases and unresolved issues. These mother-daughter conversations could provide valuable perspective on how patterns of behavior persist across generations while simultaneously offering moments of insight about how these cycles might potentially be broken. Liam's response: the power of being pursued. While Liam's health crisis initially positions him as a passive figure around whom others orbit, his awareness of the renewed competition between Hope and Steffy for his attention could potentially influence his recovery trajectory. The ego gratification derived from being the object of desire for two accomplished, beautiful women might provide Liam with a psychological boost that complements his medical treatment. Throughout his romantic history, Liam has demonstrated a pattern of thriving on being pursued and validated through external affirmation. The renewed attention from both Hope and Steffy could therefore serve as a powerful motivating force, giving him additional reason to fight for recovery and return to his full strength. This dynamic creates an interesting psychological dimension to the storyline, suggesting that emotional factors might play as significant a role in Liam's healing process as medical interventions. Industry insiders suggest that as Liam's condition stabilizes, the narrative will shift to explore his response to this renewed triangle. Will he recognize the potentially manipulative aspects of enjoying this competition, or will he once again find himself genuinely torn between two women who represent different aspects of his identity and values? The answers to these questions will likely unfold gradually, with Liam's recovery serving as a metaphor for his emotional and psychological journey toward greater self-awareness and possibly more definitive romantic choices. As this dramatic scenario unfolds in the coming weeks, viewers can anticipate emotional hospital vigils, passionate declarations of love, unexpected alliances, and the inevitable confrontations that have made the Hope-Steffy-Liam triangle one of daytime television's most enduring and compelling storylines. The addition of life-threatening illness to this familiar dynamic promises to elevate the emotional stakes and potentially reshape relationships that fans have followed for years.